Stuart, how are you?
Good, thanks. Yeah, how are you?
Good. What exactly is the nature of Andrew's injury? How did it happen on the field?
So it was quite a rare one, really. My understanding is he was just running and stepping, and it created a small fracture in his toe, basically. So it wasn't a specific impact injury. Do you know what I mean? There was nothing specific on the injury that happened, and there was no underlying aggravation beforehand. So it's quite a hard one to understand, really. But it's obviously happened, and to say we're all gutted would be an understatement. Absolutely devastated for him, really. When you think about what a fantastic season he's had and the consequences of missing out on this tour. He's been in today and he's remarkably, not upbeat but stoic, really, in terms of like the disappointment he must be feeling is incredible, really. But we just feel absolutely gutted for him, really. So, but it was just one of those things, really. It's nothing really that could have been done differently, I don't think.
Did he know at the time that it was serious, or was it just a scan that revealed it? I suppose a broken toe is going to be sore.
Yeah, I think he obviously did it during the game, and then his foot was sore, after the event. And then it was only when he got back. Obviously, we were away in Scotland. We got back to Ireland and he got it X-rayed, and then it was apparent. It's not a major thing. It's not like it's a 12 or 16 week job, but it's enough to keep him out of this tour, which is, I'd say, a real shame.
And when you say he was stoic there today, from what we know of him, we know how resilient a character he is, and his age is on his side as well for another 4 years. Is that the reason why you maybe that? I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I think it's just the way he's made up. He's a very, very tough, resilient young man, and he's always got. He'll always look for the positive in anything and everything, and he's got 100% committed to everything that he's doing, and that's why it probably hurts so much for everyone, and his family and friends, and I'm sure everyone who's supported him through his career is equally as disappointed. So there's no, there's nothing positive at the moment, really, other than we know it's not going to be a long-term injury. He'll be back fine for pre-season. He's got a fantastic career ahead of him, and as you say, I'll be very surprised if he's not there or thereabouts in 4 years' time and potentially in 8 years' time, given his age.
I know there's a stock answer to this when I ask you how keen is Johnny to play on Friday, but do you think, have you noticed he's pushing for it extra now? If for something that's a game of little consequence in terms of the competition, but is Johnny extremely eager to get out there before the summer test for Ireland?
Yeah, well, I think everyone's sort of waiting on selection. We've all, not just Johnny, but you've got Robbie Tighe, Jack Conan. The decisions about them. Do we play them? Do we not play them? Do we make sure these lads are right for what's to come around the corner? They're all decisions that we'll make. And but all I can say about Johnny is he's training really well. But equally, we want to do right by every player. Do you know what I mean? And that includes those 3 Lions players as well, I think. Given the nature of the game that we've got coming up this Friday, and we've got a strong squad. We've got people like Harry Byrne training again. Obviously, Caelan Doris is back now. Michael Bent's last game. So we've got a strong. We had 39 players training today, so we've got plenty of options this week, and we just want to do the right thing by each and every player.
Yeah, smashing. Thanks, Stuart.
Okay.
Stuart, this is Don on audio only. Leinster used over 60 players this season. Was that an upside or was there a downside in terms of performances?
Yeah, I think 60 is a lot. If you took, if I take my experience of clubs in England, if you're on the 60th player, you're probably down to someone who's in the under 18s. So it's tremendous strength in depth. In an ideal world, I don't think you'd want to play that many because 60 players shows that you've grown a lot of young players, which is great, but equally you've had a lot of injuries and you've had to blood a lot of young players as well. And I think for Lens to be successful, we need to hit the sweet spot between the two. I think next year will be different a little bit. My understanding of the structure next season is that there's going to be less Pro 14 or Pro 16 games during the international windows. So I'll be surprised if we're close to that number next year. You know, I think you've got to take into account, you know, the irony was we came back after lockdown, we had those Munster and Ulster games, then we had the culmination of the season, and the season started with Dragons at the RDS, which now finishes with Dragons at the RDS, and that's nearly 12 months. So I think part of the reason why it's such a big number is just the sheer volume of games, and you throw in, you know, all the Autumn Cup games for Ireland, the Six Nations, you know, when Leinster is a team that's providing so many international players as well. It's just a huge volume on the playing group, and it showed this season, I think.
Indeed. Did your periodisation schedule go out the window this season? It must have been hard to keep everybody in form. Yeah,
I think that the lockdown period definitely changed everything, didn't it? Because we essentially finished in March time when we were due to go to South Africa, and then we had an extended break, albeit the boys continued to train. Then we came back in July. Like I say, we started those Munster and Ulster games. Then the Pro 14 final culminated. Then we played Saracens in the European Cup quarter-final. Then I think we were into Dragons, and you know the Pro 12 season started, which then culminated in the final, and now the Rainbow Cup. So when you talk it through, you know, it's been an extended run for a lot of players, and you know, I think how we manage this off period, it's not just us, you know, I would say every provincial team and every team in England as well, and how you manage the rest periods now will be critical, because clearly with a group of players now that are going to get a rest immediately after this weekend, you know, the season's finished. There'll be a group of players that will play for Ireland who will then get, you know, maybe 3-4 more weeks, then they'll get a rest. And then there's 3 players currently going away to South Africa who will finish. They'll not be finished when we start pre-season. So they'll need an extended rest after that. So it definitely is it's been a long slog for the players, and
indeed.
You know, I think.
Will you set out prescribed off-season training for individuals now next week?
Say again, sorry.
Will you set out prescribed all-season training for individuals?
No. So they'll essentially get like a 2-week complete break, and then there'll be graduated return to training runs that they'll do, and just to keep ticking over. I mean, the gap isn't that big, you know, so you don't decondition, but equally you have to give them a break completely, and ideally get away from rugby for a while, because it's not the physical freshness, it's the mental freshness that players need as well.
Sure. Okay, and good luck on Friday.
Thank you.
Stuart, we might just finish up by getting your thoughts on finally being able to play in front of a home crowd for the first time in 16 months this weekend.
Yeah, I think that's been we've been dying for that to happen for a long time. You know, it's so hard in an emotive sport like rugby to create that internal energy all the time, and often your energy comes from the crowd. And you know, 1,200 will sound like 10,000 to us on Friday night, and you know, we were talking about it this morning as a playing group, what our motivation is for this weekend, and there's lots of motivations, you know, whether it's saying goodbye to players that are leaving or finishing, you know, with a win at the RDS, but also a big motivation is for playing in front of our spectators, and hopefully some family and friends will make it in there. It's hard to get tickets, I think, but the culmination of all that means that the players will be motivated for sure, and we hope it's the start of things to come, because you know we've all missed the games at the RDS in particular, and the support of the Leinster fans more than people would imagine, really.
And 2 of those that you mentioned that might be leaving are the retiring Scott Fardy and Michael Bent. What will they leave behind in Leinster in terms of their legacy, and what will we miss from them?
I think both of them in different ways. I mean, Scott came in. You know, my experience of Scott before I coached him was, you know, playing against Australia when I was coaching England, and you know, his versatility, his ability to play second row and back row, his experience, the energy he brings to the group, and how he makes people feel is probably one of his points of difference. Obviously, he's a very good rugby player, hugely experienced, but he's so humble and so grounded in his personality He's fitted straight into the Leinster setup, probably more easily than I think anyone would have imagined. And he's not just fitted in; he's added value. You know, I think, you know, when we play those games in the Six Nations, when all the internationals are away, it's a Scott Fardy who's leading the team. It's a Scott Fardy who's driving the energy in training. It's the Scott Fardy who's talking in meetings. You know, he's the East Tennessee Mark II. You know, he's a forwards version of East Tennessee, which I think is the biggest compliment anyone can have from a Leinster coach. And then Michael Bent, obviously, he's such a unique personality. I think all the boys love his manner, his style, the way in which he conducts himself in the group, his attention to detail in his scrum, the pride in his scrum and the contact area. And I think he's improved massively during my time coaching him. You know, he's improved his ball carry, he's improved his defence, his mobility, and he'll be missed massively by the group. And again, those young props who want good role models to learn from, you know, Michael Bent has been amazing really for them. So, you know, we wish him all the luck with him and his family going back to the farm in New Zealand. You know, whether he plays and continues to play, I don't know. But from a farming background myself, you know, I was asking what he's going to be up to, and he says, well, in a few weeks' time, we'll be with the calves and milking the cows, I think, and that's his next step.